Welcome to Lesson 5 on Plant Reproduction. So I just wanted to say I've given you an hour to do this project, but it actually took me longer to do the project when I had a go. So don't worry, there is some catch-up time in the last lesson of this week, so don't worry if you don't get it finished in an hour. That's absolutely fine. I'd rather you took more time and did a really good project. In this lesson, we are going to be doing the extension activity at the back of the booklet. During this activity, we are going to be designing a new plant. Your first job is to read and highlight the information about an area in Brazil which you are exploring. You need to highlight the information relative to what types of plants you would expect to grow there. Do not move past here unless you have fully read all the information above the picture and highlighted so you understand the information. So if you look under the picture, there is a list of how you are going to do this project. Your job now is to just read through these instructions which go onto the next page very carefully. Maybe highlight just things that stand out to you that you need to do as well. Okay, so do not move past here unless you have fully read and understood all of the instructions. Okay, so here's my project and I'm just going to go through how I created it so that I can hopefully inspire you on doing your own project. So I started by just jotting down some ideas and then I went straight on to doing my plant picture. So I think it makes sense to start with drawing out your picture because it makes you think about what adaptations the plant's going to have, from everything from the leaves to the roots to the flower. So I always like to sketch things out first in pencil because it really helps to make mistakes. So I did that first and then I outlined it in a fine liner. Please don't use felt tip, but if you do have fine liners, I think it looks really great if you outline it first. And once you've outlined it all, you can go on to colouring it in. Remember, please colour in with pencils, not felt tips. It just looks so much better. So once I'd coloured it all in, it was time to label it. So I used a ruler to make sure my labels were neat. And as well as labelling on the stem, root, leaves, flower and other things that you've been asked to label, I also decided to add labels for the adaptations because I thought it was a really good idea to have those on the actual plant picture, as well as later having a page about them as well. So your next step then was to do your labelling once you've drawn it out. So then I needed to go on to do my seed design. So I started by drawing out my seed and then I labelled all the different parts of the seed. I also drew the fruit around the seed as well. When I did my labels, the important thing to focus on is how my seed was adapted to the habitat and to being dispersed in that particular habitat. So after that, I went on to doing my adaptations. Now, although I already added a few of these onto my diagram or my picture of my plant, in this section, I really needed to write about them in more detail. So I decided to use bullet points because, I think that bullet points help you with writing a bit less. But I did write fairly detailed notes on these and I decorated it a little bit just to make it fit in with the rest of the work. So I used a full A4 for this section. So the last thing that I needed to do was write about the special properties of my plant. So I used again half a piece of A4 for this and I drew a little symbol to go with each one just because I thought it looked really good and it gave a kind of quick way of understanding what the plant's properties were. So obviously you can make up your own ones and then once I had finished this, I'll show you what I did next. So I then kind of stuck it all together like this. So you can see I've got my adaptations section, I've got my special properties section, I have got my actual my seed section, and then last of all I have got my actual plant design here. So in Shobi, I'm going to put these 4 pictures with each of these pages so that you can have a real sort of look and hopefully get inspiration if you're struggling. So I would really like to see you put a real effort into this, boys. You can see how much effort I've put into mine, and I'm expecting the same level of effort from you. So if you've finished after 20 minutes, it tells you that you haven't put in enough effort. So you need to pause here while you go off and do your project. And if you finish it, come join me on Zoom so I can check it before I let you move on. So if you somehow manage to get your project finished within the hour and you've checked with me on Zoom that you're allowed to move on, then you can go onto the activities section, and anything that you didn't get done from last lesson you can carry on with now. So any of those activities, whether it's revision, whether it's an exam question, whether it's the glossary, picture glossary, anything you like. And that is the lesson completed. Well done.